Hello and welcome to Nature Source Care. My name is Dr. Funda Goldman. Today I'm going to be talking about homeopathy for the overzealous Crusader, and specifically the Bach Flower remedy Vervain. So if you're here with me listening today, and there's a lot going on in the United States, we have the Super Bowl, we have the Puppy Bowl, we also have Valentine's Day weekend. So I'm sure people are very busy with all these things, at least here. But in case you have a few extra minutes, here's some homeopathy for you. Please note the information presented here is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. For any symptoms that persist or worsen, please consult with a qualified medical professional. So it's best to determine the root cause of any disease and to develop a comprehensive treatment plan. While homeopathy or Bach flower remedies can be very effective, they may not be appropriate for everyone or as a single therapy, so please keep that in mind. Okay, so Vervain Bach Flower remedy. If you're not familiar with Bach Flower remedies, they are kind of homeopathy, which is a kind of energy medicine. It's a whole paradigm of medicine. It's quite different from the kind of Western, modern biomechanical model. Um, anyway, if you're interested in more history or background on it, I would check my first video of my first Bach Flower video, Walnut New Beginnings, because I go into more of it there. But the general idea or underlying concept here is that disease stems from an inner struggle. And so I find flower remedies to be particularly useful in like mental, emotional, spiritual conditions or disturbances. Yeah. For more videos like this, I have playlists on the Bach flower remedies specifically and homeopathy generally, so you can find more info there. But the keynote for this particular remedy is excessive effort in promoting a cause. Okay, so that's what you would be looking for. And so again, if we're talking about an inner state of being, why is somebody pouring so much effort into promoting a cause? Well, they're actually they're kind of lost in. You can think of it as they're being lost in or overtaken by the energy of inspiration, which is can be a very strong energy. So they need to learn how to handle that, balance that. But let's get into more detail. So here are Vervain symptoms. So again, this is what you're looking for to see if it might be appropriate for somebody. So Vervain people symptoms, they have a singular focus where it's about, and their focus is about spreading information or knowledge. Okay. The thing though is that, it's excessive. So they might come across as like a crusader, a missionary. So it might be religious, doesn't have to be, or a preacher of ideas. Somebody who really not only believes it, but makes sure that they're spreading that word, and it's like a focal point of their life and their energy. So again, we might get people who are really quite revolutionary or even fanatic here. Some people might even do things, destructive and get arrested, if they're really, really over the top. And that's the thing is that the problem here is not that people can't be very, adamant about their beliefs. But the thing is that this amount of energy and excessive activity, especially when it's outwardly directed, can injure self and others. And that's the issue. Okay. So the thing that was that the person involved in this sort of thing may be oblivious or apathetic to the collateral damage that happens with them. Again, spreading this information or knowledge or supporting this cause, whatever the cause happens to be. And it may be this sort of like win at all cost attitude where it's sort of like their attitude may be the only thing that matters is that I get people on board with this idea. And whether it rubs people the wrong way or it offends people or whatever gets them in trouble doesn't seem to matter too much. Okay. So it's kind of this always like hard selling. It's not like a subtle thing in any way. It's pretty out there and obvious and hard to tune out or tone down. So the thing also, the problem with this kind of activity is that if somebody's really doing this in their own power instead of working with spirit. Again, there's no moderation, there's no balance, there's no listening to anything. It's almost like this energy kind of overtakes them and they don't know how to handle it. It's just like they're supercharged and they don't know how to, they can kind of come across as like very kind of nervous, jumpy, excited, people. Um, and again, it's just they may seem or they may actually be obsessive and rigid in these efforts to again convince people of certain ideas or make sure that they know certain ideas or get them on board with certain causes, that sort of thing. Okay. And again, because they're so singular in their focus and their energy, they have a difficult time resting, relaxing, finding balance. So the other areas of their life might really suffer because they're just all of their energy is in this one thing. And, friends, family, work. This might be their work, actually. It could be their work, but, work or whatever, hobbies, just, having a more balance or good sleep, it might be a problem here. So again, with this much, unbridled energy, they can easily burn themselves out or burn other people out. Like other people might just shut them out or, get angry, like, stop, leave me alone with this thing, this issue. I'm tired of listening to you. That can definitely happen. So they're not really giving space to either themselves or others. Yeah. And again, this can be professional. So somebody might be a professional kind of cause, you know, um, Fender, Crusader, that sort of thing. And it can be even be a good cause. So it's not necessarily negative. Um, and some people might even get rewarded for sacrificing themselves this way. But again, even if somebody's like maybe they're working for some kind of special nonprofit or something like that, this is somebody who's not doing it in balance. This is somebody who's not sleeping, maybe not eating, has no other life. This is like really the only thing going on for them. This is the only thing they spend time and energy on. Yeah. So, and it's like, I don't know, I don't know if it's willingness or able, it's probably a capability of actually like toning this down. Um, and, the other thing is that they can get angry or frustrated when this kind of conversion process, again, conversion is kind of religious, is to me is a word that's sort of religious in nature. It doesn't have to be religion. It can be anything, maybe politics. I don't know. For some reason, I don't know if this is entirely, you know, uh, I don't know the people, but it's like at least on YouTube, sometimes like the ads that pop up, there's ads from, unfortunately, there was a school shooting not too far from where I live in Connecticut. And there's some parents who take out ads on YouTube and they try to get people to sign on for like more regulation of like semi-automatic weapons and stuff like that because somebody went to this school and just shot a bunch of kids and teachers, I think. And so it's the parents who are leading this cause. So, I don't know them or whatever, but I can imagine that a cause like that um, could be very hot, very overwhelming, or it could be, and that's the thing is it's kind of a little bit of a different thing because I think with those parents who lost children, unfortunately, I think their motivating factor is more about probably the grief that they experience with losing their child and those really unfortunate circumstances. So they may seem very cause driven, but I think with those parents, I'm not sure Vervain would be um, the right remedy. I would probably look for a grief remedy, even though outwardly they may seem like a Vervain person or in a Vervain state. So again, I've always said with the Bach Flower remedies, um, that you need to really understand the nuances of somebody as well as the remedies in order to make a good match between the right remedy or the best remedy for somebody in whatever state they're in. So again, just to bring up nuances here. So again, with the Vervain folks, it's really about the cause. There's something about the cause that's really lighting them on fire, really. And unfortunately, there's so much fire, it burns them, it burns people around them, and burns things down. So it's just getting that fire more well controlled and channeled. so it's not, creating problems. But if somebody in the Vervain state is not if they're not seeing progress, then they may get angry or frustrated because they're not kind of winning. I don't know. That's my word, though. I'm not sure that they would see it as winning, but if they don't see progress, if they don't see people kind of getting on board with what they want everybody to get on board with, then they might get frustrated that way. And the thing is, when they get frustrated like that, they may push harder rather than rest. So they're just going to keep burning up here, using all this energy again and not probably the most sustainable ways. And because they're pushing so hard and they're not getting rest, they may get ill. Yeah, just, a cold or flu. It's like the universe might slow them down if they're not slowing themselves down, that kind of thing. So again, just the general sort of vibe or somebody, or, again, if you're seeing somebody in person, it might be like, they just come across as somebody who's generally very tense, nervous, emotional, because again, they have all this energy that um, they're not, again, maybe that adept at handling or balancing. Yeah. So the risk, if this isn't addressed, is that they may end up doing more harm than good. Um, if they're hurting themselves or hurting other people, or they might even hurt the cause that they're actually trying to support, because if people associate their behavior with this cause, and it might actually turn people off from the cause that they're trying to support. And again, the cause may be, very good. It might be quite noble, but still, it's just kind of too aggressive. So the potential outcome with taking this sort of remedy for this sort of situation is that the person is actually able to channel this inspirational energy positively. And they may actually bring more people on board by just chilling out a little bit, taking it down a notch. And it would be more sustainable and productive for them. They would become more patient, more balanced. They would still be exuberant. I mean, they still have a lot of energy, but it would be more like attractive energy as opposed to like forceful energy. And they would also potentially be more open in general to other ideas besides their own. And they would actually listen to other people and listen to spirit as well. So they're moving in harmony rather than just sort of like overriding, or being sort of overbearing. And they would be motivated by love rather than like just this like massive energy surge running through their body. And it's sort of compulsively, moving them to do things. I mean, I think, if they get angry and frustrated when things aren't happening, then there's still some sort of attachment to this idea. But again, with the remedy, then it would I think be more balanced overall for them and the cause and people around them. Okay, so that's very. Other remedies that you might consider, and I have videos on most of these, so you can check them out. Because again, it's all about nuances, right? So you want to try to pick the best one, closest to one to what somebody's experiencing. But I do have a whole video on remedies for exhaustion and overwhelm. This includes elm, hornbeam, oak, olive. So a couple of them, well, actually three of them. Actually, all of them could potentially be. So let me go through them. Elm is somebody who identifies too much with their role, which I think is a little bit different from the Vervain. Vervain is more about the cause rather than a role. So like an elm person might be somebody like a doctor or who else, like maybe a policeman or something like that. Like somebody who is kind of, on the, in the trenches, but it's almost like they won't give themselves a break because it's like, I am the doctor, I am the policeman, I'm supposed to be doing this. So even when they get burnt out, they may not give themselves a break because it's like they feel like, that's kind of their duty. Yeah. Or responsibility because of the nature of the role that they're in. So that's again a slightly different thing than somebody who's just, full out, I don't know, maybe, and it could be, that's the thing, is that it could be both. I mean, maybe there are like doctors, for example, who are so, um, really over the top about certain causes that, I don't know, they could potentially need both. There's Hornbeam, which is usually I wouldn't think of this as like more of a Vervain thing because it's more of like Hornbeam is usually a remedy you give somebody after excessive mental effort, like after they study for exams or something like that. But again, it depends. I mean, what is this? We're talking about outward activity here with the Vervain person. So, are they writing like massive letters to politicians to create some sort of new laws or something like that? I mean, that's a lot of mental effort. So maybe. Then there's Oak. These are people who they're kind of just rigid in their perseverance. Like they set a goal, and even if I don't know, the landscape has changed or the goal is not maybe appropriate anymore. Like they'll just keep going and going and going. Just to complete the goal, even if they're not even they're doggedly pursuing the goal, even if like maybe things change and it's not really appropriate anymore, not really that helpful anymore. But the oak person, again, it's usually not about like recruiting in the same way that Vervain is, but again, I could see where, you'd have to figure out like which one's better for somebody. And then olive, this is for, anybody who's just long-term overwork and, overdoing it. So it might be that you start with like olive, for example, maybe in the beginning it seems like they're olive and you give them olive and it helps, but then they kind of go back to the same activity. So once they get energy back through olive, maybe, then they might be right back at it. So it's not like the deeper cause or problem was truly solved. It just actually kind of, in a way, prolonged, actually sort of supported them in doing more of it in a weird way. But maybe if the Vervain is given and then you do solve a deeper issue of why they're doing using or utilizing so much energy to again spread some sort of message or whatever. Maybe once that's fixed or cleaned up or whatever, then the olive could come in to help the person just recover from this excessive use of energy. Because I would imagine it's exhausting. The only reason why they can keep this up is because, again, they kind of have this energy surge that they can't, kind of control or channel well. Then there's white chestnut. This is also obsessive energy, but again, this is more internal energy where this might actually shut somebody down. So that's where, like, a white chestnut person is not going to be out there, on the streets, like, try to convert somebody to some new thought process or whatever, because they're going to be thinking about it too much and their energy is going to be very internal and it's like the analysis paralysis. Like they won't be able to kind of get clear in themselves to actually take action. So that's a big difference. Chestnut bud. So there are 4 chestnut remedies and with Bach flowers. So try not to get confused there. But chestnut bud is about not learning from mistakes. So again, if somebody's out there, I don't know, for some reason in my head, I just have somebody like I can see somebody like on the streets, trying to, I don't know, preach or soapbox about something. And maybe they're getting signatures or trying to enroll people in a program or get them to a class or whatever it is that they're doing. Um, and it may be that what they need to do is they need to learn to tone it down. So it's about they're not actually learning. Because like really good salespeople and marketing people, well, more sales people, they're good at reading people, so they know like when to push it and when not to, typically. But this is, the Vervain person is just somebody who's going and going and going, and they almost kind of don't care or take into account the reactions of the people in front of them that they're talking to or trying to, get on board with their cause. So it might be that potentially. So that's something to consider. Then there's chicory and heather. These 2 remedies I have in my neediness video. So chicory is about like, quote unquote, the needy mother, and heather's the needy child. And meaning, so it doesn't have to be a mother, it doesn't have to be a child, it could be an adult, it could be a father, or something like that. But the needy mother energy of chicory is somebody who actually controls people through helping them. So they kind of make people indebted to them by supporting them. So it's actually more of a way of controlling, um, and being kind of seen as the go-to person. It kind of like, when people act like this and it's not recognized, this kind of person solidifies their position of power because they make people again indebted to them and kind of disable people by needing them and stuff like. So anyway, there's that dynamic. So, but again, that's more about. I don't know that the chicory person is going to be out there like converting the masses to some new program, though. I would think that I mean, maybe, depending on how far-reaching this is, but I would think the chicory person was more kind of uh, getting people stuck in their web, the ones who are close to them, like people they live with, their family, friends, coworkers. I don't know if it would be on quite the scale that the Vervain person would be working. And again, um, it's more about helping. So I don't know if the Vervain person's actually helping people and kind of making them indebted to the chicory person. So again, it's a sort of, it might seem like the same, but again, different in the nuances. And then Heather is a needy child, which, energy, but, there are adults who have this. But this is basically who doesn't necessarily realize that they're attention seeking. But usually the Heather person is more like they'll share stories about themselves, or they'll talk a lot, or they'll engage people a lot. But it's kind of like they may not realize it, but it's like they're actually seeking attention. Um, so there might be some of that because some people like to go out and whatever recruit people or something because it puts them at the center of attention. So again, this is just another thing to possibly consider, another remedy to possibly consider. And then there's causticum, which is not a Bach flower remedy, and I don't have a video on it. All the remedies I've mentioned on this slide where there's a double asterisk, that means that there's a video that I've done on it, so you can check that out. Causticum, I have not done a video on. It is a classical homeopathic remedy, but like the mental and the classical homeopathy, I haven't done videos on this, but once I do the Bach flowers, I might do classical homeopathy. I'm thinking about it. But they're much more complex, and the thing is, the classical homeopathy, they definitely have like fairly extensive physical symptoms as well. But causticum, if you do classical homeopathy, causticum might be one to consider if you're thinking maybe vervain, because causticum, the mental kind of atmosphere of somebody in a causticum state is somebody who is like a kind of true believer, crusader, kind of fight for the cause type person. But again, you'd have to look at all the physical symptoms and match that up as well with somebody. But at least that might be another one to consider if you do classical homeopathy. That's the first one that comes to mind when I think of this Vervain energy. Okay, so other options, take your time to again determine the nuances of the remedies and, the people, and then you do your best with matching. Okay, so again, thanks for stopping by again today. Apparently, I guess for those of you who aren't into football and puppies and Valentine's Day, then this might be the content for you this weekend. But regardless of when you catch the video, I always appreciate you stopping by and your support for my work and the channel and the different ways that all of you support the channel. So whether it's subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting, the very kind comments most of you leave, it's very much appreciated. So thank you all for that. I do have another YouTube channel on Vedic astrology, so ancient Indian astrology, if that's of interest to you. And I do have an online photography gallery gift shop, if you're interested in photography. So there's a link for you there. All right. So otherwise, I hope you're all doing well. And until the next one, take care.